Now, I've been getting a lot of questions recently about this ChatGPT AI and kind of what impact it's going to have on education and how that's going to change everything. So I thought I would just kind of lay out my thoughts here in just a really quick, simple, easy little video essay, just so you kind of know where I'm standing with this. Now, we're going to start here. Anytime something new comes down the pipe, we seem to hit this mass hysteria. I remember they were doing the same thing with graphing calculators back in the day, and then whiteboards, and COVID was going to change anything. And the problem is when we go into hysteria when it comes to education, we start talking about school not in any realistic way. So all these articles people are writing and things they're putting on Twitter, they're discussing an education that I've frankly never seen. All the schools that these people talk about, they talk about education like it's some generic monolithic thing. And frankly, I've been in a ton of schools in the last 15 years, and I've never seen any school like the way they're describing school works. So once we kind of calm ourselves down, pull our attention back, and remember how school actually functions, what do we literally do on a day-to-day basis, you see there's absolutely nothing to worry about with ChatGPT. It's not going to change a thing we actually do. It's going to change a lot of what people think we do, but it ain't actually going to impact how schools truly function. So I'm going to say this, don't worry, ChatGPT will never significantly impact K through 12 education. Now notice K through 12. An argument could be made that ChatGPT might impact some subset of courses, typically intro courses at universities. And the reason for that is simple. Like I taught intro to psychology one year, right? There was 550 kids in that class. I didn't know any of their names. I didn't know any of their faces. There was just too much. The only thing I had from them was the final essay they handed in at the end of the year. That was it. The only thing I knew about my students was what they wrote on that essay. In those situations, ChatGPT might be important, but we'll see later that it won't actually be that important. So K through 12 schools, traditional education, this is where definitely ChatGPT ain't really going to have that big of an issue. And there's two reasons why I know this for reals. Reason number one, and this is hands down the most important, in K through 12 education, we know our students. And that's it. We don't spend no time or 2 hours a semester with our kids. We spend hours and hours each and every week with the same group of kids, and we get to know them. We know how they think. We know how they talk. We know how they act. We know how they interact. And we also know then when something they've handed in or submitted doesn't align with that personhood. The very fact that we spend time with our students and actually get to know their names, their likes, their faces, how they think, that will largely negate any impact most people think ChatGPT is ever going to have on education. So pull it back. Here's the best way to think about it. If you've played with this AI at all in the last couple of months, you know ChatGPT is a little more than just Wikipedia. It's giving you the same basic information. Yes, it has better connective sentences in between, but at the end of the day, it's just a faster version of Wikipedia. Now, remember when Wikipedia came out, everyone said, oh, that's it, school's going to change, this is going to break everything. Did it? No, didn't change a thing. Why? Because Wikipedia was simply Encyclopedia Britannica. And Encyclopedia Britannica was simply the school library. The school library was simply the state library. Students have always had access to information, and that's never been a problem. Granted, it's getting faster and faster and faster and faster, but go back. Just like Wikipedia was supposed to change everything, it doesn't. Why? Because we know our students. Pop quiz. How many of your students use Wikipedia when they're writing an essay? How many do you think? You probably got it. 100%. Why do I know this? Because we all use Wikipedia. I use it every time I write something. You use it whenever you have to write something. We're all using Wikipedia. The issue isn't whether or not you're using it. It's that we recognize the stronger students will use it and then adapt it. They will tweak it. They will start to make it their own. Whereas some of the weaker students will simply copy and paste it. And because I know my students, as soon as I see a copy paste, I can pick it out in a heartbeat. I've never missed it. I go, wait a second. These aren't your words. This isn't the way you would normally put things together. Who is this? So it's not that we don't want kids to use Wikipedia. We know they are using it, just like ChatGPT. I guarantee you they're going to use it. It's not the using it that's the issue. It's how are you going to do stuff with it? And we can tell because we know our students who's adapting it and who's simply copying and pasting. It's not magic. It's not a mystery to us. Because we spend hours a day, months out of the year with the same students, we can pick this stuff out pretty easily. And that brings us then into reason number two why ChatGPT won't really have a big impact. We rarely employ single submission essays in K through 12 education. I do in universities. The only work you're ever going to do is one essay. Cool. That is so rare in K through 12. First of all, there's an entire subset of K through 12 that doesn't have anything to do with writing. So things like math, art, music, home ec, PE, most sciences, practical sciences, health, cinema, all these practical courses aren't going to be impacted one way or the other by this chatbot. But let's go to the writing courses. Let's go to our history. Let's go to our English. Even in those instances, very rarely is it a single submission essay. We have a process. If your school works anything like the ones I work in, you're probably going to start with a week of activities and tasks and homeworks. Like if we're writing an essay on Shakespeare, we're going to start by doing a lot of work reading and understanding Shakespeare. And through that week, I'm already sussing out which kids are getting it, which kids are struggling. These kids are doing all right. These kids need a little bit more work. Then we're going to do the outline for the essay, and I'm going to offer you feedback. I know what you're thinking. We got to tweak this. Then you're probably going to hand in a first draft. I'm going to offer some feedback. You're going to do some peer review. Maybe after that, we'll do a second draft before we get to that final piece of work. In K through 12 education, we typically have a process. We don't just need the performance piece of work. We care about the process of writing the essay. And because of that, I've got tabs on you and your thinking the entire time you're putting something together. So if I know you're struggling during the class activities, and then your outline is a little weak, and then your first draft is really weak, and then all of a sudden you hand in this polished, beautiful final essay, congratulations, I know you've just ChatGPT'd me. And for the kids who have been going through this process and they've been doing it fine all the way, that final essay should match what they've been doing all along. This is what I mean by we keep discussing schools in a manner that I've never seen. When you remember how we actually teach, how we actually move through learning in K through 12, you'll see this idea that a computer can write it. It's not really going to matter all that much. Now, real quick, I just want to tail it back to universities. So I said there's a couple instances, especially those intro courses, where this ChatGPT might fool us. But the joke is, kids are already doing that. For decades, they've been paying other people to write their essays, and we don't know about it. They've been going online, getting services so they don't have to write these things. We don't know about it, but we find out about it in year 2 or 3. Once you move out of intro courses and you start doing pracs or honors applications, it's going to become real clear who gets this stuff and who's been phoning it in. Once you literally have to perform the task of whatever it is you're mastering in, we can really pick out who is cheating and who genuinely gets this stuff. So really, even if they're going to use it there, they can slip one by us. I promise you, they're slipping them by us all the time. They're only hurting themselves because 2 years later, they're going to get busted for that one. So that's why even in universities, I don't see it being that big of a thing. It's already occurring, and when it does, we're already catching it. So just pull your attention back. When we stop the hysteria and we stop talking about school in these general terms and we start talking specifically, how does K through 12 work? You start to see things like ChatGPT. They're not going to have that big of an impact any more than Wikipedia had before it. It's a cool tool, but it doesn't genuinely change our day-to-day business on the ground. So hopefully that just kind of put some ideas in your head and kind of laid out where I'm sitting with this stuff. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, y'all.